Another day of public vaccinations at the WFCU Center. Tonight, we take you inside.
They didn't decide to come to this determination because we have a crisis. They're coming to this determination because there's a stigma attached to homeless people, and they're going to be working around that, and they're going to be housing it. So now it seems like it's important.
Nearly 300 Windsor police officers have now been trained to use naloxone. It's a change advocates have been demanding for several years, but many question, why now? A live look at Detroit there. Hope you got outside because it has been absolutely gorgeous today. We got 13 degrees this afternoon. Temperatures will be dipping to about -4 overnight. Nick Cernkovich will have your full forecast later tonight. I'm Katerina Georgieva. Thanks for watching. Chris is away. In a little more than 12 hours, on-site testing will be coming to Windsor's 2 international border crossings. This as non-essential travelers are required to present proof of a recent COVID test when arriving at the border. With more, I'm joined live now by the CBC's Sanjay Maru. Sanjay, how exactly will this change operations at the border?
Well, Katerina, you can actually see these changes behind me. I'm outside the Detroit-Windsor tunnel, and if you drive right by the entrance, you can get a very clear view of these white and yellow trailers set up in the parking lot of the tunnel's duty-free store. Same at the Ambassador Bridge. That's where you can find similar trailers as well, also in the Bridges duty-free parking lot, and that's where non-essential travelers looking to come back into Canada will receive their first of 2 tests for COVID-19. A $750,000 fine, possibly imprisonment. These are some of the consequences for non-essential travelers who don't complete Windsor's on-site border testing.
This is the test facility for the non-essential travelers coming and returning back to Canada. This is where they'll be issuing test kits.
Here's how it works. Non-essential travelers will be given 2 testing kits, both to be self-administered. Inside the testing trailer, the Canadian Red Cross will be standing by.
Our Red Cross, supervised by a registered nurse clinician, will help the traveler to self-administer their test.
Once the traveler heads home, quarantine begins. On the 10th day, another test that can be mailed out via courier.
Do I think, from our level, is it redundant? Sounds like it's redundant. I'm going to give you a negative test, and you're going to test me.
Despite the Public Health Agency of Canada saying on-site testing is meant to help non-essential travelers meet day 1 requirements at the border, proof of a negative COVID-19 test conducted within 72 hours is still required before arriving at the bridge or tunnel. It's an extra layer of safety, according to the general manager of the Ambassador Bridge.
Obviously, a lot can happen within that 72 hours. Somebody who takes a test on, Thursday, they're at the border on Sunday. What were you doing for those 3 days?
And Katerina, the federal government says about 90% of cross-border land travel is considered essential. So this on-site testing not expected to affect those individuals. I've been told by officials at the border it should be business as usual for them. Meanwhile, the CBSA tells me that if a traveler does not want to take that day 1 test here in these white and yellow trailers, they can actually take that self-swab and perform it, or rather do that test at their quarantine location if desired. But again, to be clear, that pre-arrival COVID test is still required for non-essential travelers. Officials with the border telling me that if a non-essential traveler does not present that valid test result, they could be directed straight to a designated quarantine facility. No word, however, on where that is.
Thanks for this, Sanjay. The CBC's Sanjay Maru reporting live from the border. The health unit is reporting that all outbreaks are now over in long-term care facilities in Windsor, Essex. There is one new outbreak, however, declared today at a retirement home, Dolce Vita in Windsor. The health unit is also reporting 10 new cases today, and 1 more person has died, a 70-year-old man living in long-term care. Active cases are also down to 262. As public vaccinations continue for those 80 and older, the WFCU Center opened its doors to the media today. It's one of 2 newly set up vaccination sites in the region. The other, in Leamington, opens up Monday. Windsor's opened this week, and the CBC's Tamina Aziz got a tour.
I'm standing in front of the WFCU Center where people 80 and over are gearing up to get their first vaccine. Come take a look inside. Signs are placed all around the building so people know where to go. If you're coming in, you can bring a caregiver with you. A 90-year-old woman brought her son with her. She jokes the vaccine might add a few more years to her life.
It's a great relief, I'm telling you. It's just like another 5 years, maybe.
The clinic is vaccinating 6 people every 15 minutes, but the local health unit expects that number to go up to 9 starting tomorrow. Right now, about 1,000 vaccines are given out each week, but that'll ramp up once we get more supply.
We know that the doses are coming. With the additional AstraZeneca vaccine being approved and maybe Johnson & Johnson over the next few weeks, doses will be here en masse, and we need to be ready to vaccinate and get those doses in the arms of everybody who wants one as quickly as possible.
While different vaccines are coming in, the medical officer of health says we can't be choosy.
At the end of the day, you need protection. And whatever protection you can get, it would keep our community safe. It would help to maybe open up more and do the things that we used to do. So if you get a chance, my message is get your vaccine. Doesn't matter which one it is. These are all pretty good vaccines.
The health unit says we can expect more facilities like this one popping up in the near future. As for the next priority group, Dr. Ahmed says they're in talks with the province and we'll hear more details about it in the coming days. Tamina Aziz, CBC News, Windsor.
It's been nearly a week since the opening of a temporary emergency shelter at the Aquatic Center after outbreaks at the Downtown Mission and the Salvation Army shelters. The city says 35 people have been provided shelter so far. Those who experience homelessness who have tested positive for COVID have been moved to one of 2 isolation and recovery centers. The city says about 40 people are isolating in the first center and 35 in the second. Once isolation is complete, they'll be taken to the Aquatic Center and they'll be there until March 29th, giving time for the mission's outbreak to end. Hundreds of Windsor police officers are being trained to use a drug that can reverse the effects of an opioid overdose. Late last year, the service equipped 3 units with naloxone. Last week, a decision was made to extend it to all. It's a move advocates have been calling for years. But as Dan Takema reports, the explanation of why the decision was made now is leaving at least one family with more questions than answers.
Got Graham on my phone, so I think about Graham every day.
Candace McCowan's brother died of an opioid overdose 3 years ago. For 3 years, she's been among advocates calling for Windsor police to carry naloxone. For 3 years, she's felt ignored. Now, with news the service is equipping hundreds of frontline officers, she's relieved. But one question lingers. Why now?
What was the deciding factor? What makes all the lives moving forward more important than what my brother's was or people before him?
In the past, police and the services board said data didn't support officers being equipped with the drug. Meanwhile, the number of opioid-related emergency room visits continued to climb. Visits have been rising steadily since 2016. There were 249 in 2019. That's 3 times more than 2007. In explaining the change, Windsor's police chief points to officers who are going to be working with some of the city's most vulnerable during the pandemic.
Our officers being deployed at the emergency shelters for people who are experiencing homeless, as well as the recovery centers. I think that changes it.
The chief also raised 2 community alerts about extremely high rates of overdose this year. But while the police chief points to shelters, she did not have a clear answer for how working there is different from the interactions police officers regularly have while patrolling the community. And her explanation, it caught the president of the Police Association of Ontario by surprise.
A little bit of shock, I guess. You know, the police profession worked 24/7, 7 days a week, holidays. There are countless cases of police personnel during their regular patrols coming across individuals who have suffered an overdose and saving their lives.
Others, including Windsor West MPP Lisa Gretzky, have suggested linking the decision to shelters will stigmatize people experiencing homelessness. Windsor is believed to be the last large police service in Ontario to carry the drug. McCowan says the need for officers to have naloxone has been clear for a long time.
Years of hearing police give reasons not to carry the drug left her questioning whether Graham's death meant anything. She can't shake that feeling, even now.
I think if it's only one person, my brother, whoever, there should have been a need. We should take all measures as human beings to save life.
Police say even though officers will have naloxone, they still view overdoses as a medical emergency, with medical personnel best equipped to respond. Dan Takema, CBC News, Windsor.
The AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine arrived in Canada today. The doses will eventually be distributed across the country. The Ford government revealing today its allotment will be used in a limited group of people. But what remains unclear tonight is which groups will be next in line to get vaccinated. Lorenda Redekop has the details.
The first doses of AstraZeneca vaccine arrived today, but the ones staying in Ontario won't be headed to mass vaccination sites.
Moving forward, there's going to be a different pathway for delivering AstraZeneca into people's arms.
At least some of the shots will be given in pharmacies. Pharmacy students recently received training on doing inoculations, and the government has signed agreements with the Pharmacists Association allowing them to vaccinate. Many of the AstraZeneca shots will have to be done soon. Most expire in a month. AstraZeneca will be targeted for people aged 60 to 64. The National Advisory Committee on Vaccinations, or NACI, so far isn't recommending it for seniors. It's still not clear when the next groups of people will be eligible for their vaccines, like frontline essential workers, those from high-risk communities, or people with health conditions.
We're giving the public health units all of the information that they need right now to deliver the vaccines that we have right now. As we move forward with more quantities and different types, then they will get that information.
Today, frustration from other politicians.
So here we are, not even knowing, who's being prioritized in the second phase of the rollout. And we're literally on the cusp of that rollout.
This idea that we're all still guessing around when and how I'm going to get a vaccine, where I fit into the priority list is unacceptable.
This afternoon, Toronto officials said some older seniors, 80 plus, are already getting their vaccines at hospitals, but mainly people already going there for other appointments. Sunnybrook Hospital says it hopes to start vaccinating seniors next week. And late this afternoon, big news from the National Advisory Committee. It changed its guidelines for Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, saying the length of time before the second dose can be extended to 4 months.
All that does is make sure that more Ontario residents get access to the vaccine sooner. So for me, it would be a game changer.
That means the province's vaccination timeline will have to be updated. The provincial web portal still isn't set to be up and running until March 15th, and it's not clear when mass vaccination clinics in this city will be able to open. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
A guilty verdict was handed down today in the deadly Toronto van attack in 2018. A judge declared Alec Minassian criminally responsible on 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 of attempted murder. Minassian admitted to planning and carrying out the rampage, but his lawyers argued his autism spectrum disorder meant he should be found not criminally responsible. Farah Morelli has this report.
It's been nearly 3 years, but the images and the aftermath of the deadly attack are still fresh in so many minds.
Jin Hoon Kim, So Hee Chung.
One by one, the names of those who were killed that day were read aloud as victims and their families stood side by side outside the courthouse. Today, Alec Minassian, the man who deliberately drove a van down a Yonge Street sidewalk, killing 10 people and injuring 16 others, was found guilty.
It's like you're holding your breath for 3 years and you can finally breathe.
Today, relief from family members of those who died.
I don't really know how else to explain it. We get a chance to kind of continue a life, finding our new normal and kind of being and living that again.
At the heart of this case is not whether the accused actually committed the attack. He's long admitted to it, even saying he planned it out weeks in advance. What the judge had to decide was whether or not in that moment he understood that what he was doing was morally wrong. The accused's lawyer tried to argue because of his autism spectrum disorder, he was incapable of that. The judge rejected that claim today, saying this was the exercise of a free will by a rational brain capable of choosing between right and wrong. He freely chose the option that was morally wrong, knowing what the consequences would be for himself and for everybody else.
I'm hoping that someday he'll be able to begin to understand what he did.
Catherine Riddell was hit that day while out for a walk. She was hospitalized for 2 months with a fractured spine, pelvis, and other injuries.
Hopefully one day I'll be able to shed this walker and be back to where I was before all this happened.
While the attack changed the lives of victims and their families, it's also left a lasting impact on the community.
The memories come back, the emotions come back. I think everyone right now is bracing themselves, at least as faith leader, we're bracing ourselves for many people to be talking about it and wanting and needing to share and kind of come back together and remember together.
Remember, but not forget what happened on these streets. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
A live look at our city there. Today we had lots of sun. Tomorrow it won't be too shabby either. We've got a mix of sun and clouds. Welcome back. A Whitehorse resident known for his joyous dancing videos got his first dose of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine earlier this week. The Yukon City is the first capital in Canada to open its vaccine clinics to people 18 and older. The dance instructor felt so grateful after he got the jab, he decided to celebrate the best way he knows how, with a traditional Punjabi Bhangra dance. Nick Sirkovich joins us now for weather. Nick, I love seeing that joy. I don't know if you caught a glimpse of that video.
Yes. Yeah.
And I gotta say, I felt a lot of joy earlier today when I got to go outside and there was so much sunshine. It was amazing.
And you were doing a dance.
Yes, I was doing my own little sunshine dance.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding. 12 degrees in Windsor today. Really well above the seasonal mark. Warm temperatures. You could almost call it t-shirt weather. Probably is t-shirt weather for some. But anyway, beautiful day. We're sitting at 9 degrees right now in Windsor. It tapers off pretty dramatically as you get toward London and Kitchener. But down in Windsor, double-digit temperatures today. Now, it's not going to last in the immediate term, but long term, we've got more in the way of warm weather headed our way. I'll show you that in just a sec. Winds out of the northwest there, about 20, gusting to 40 kilometers per hour at times. We're going to see that continue into tomorrow as well. It's that northwesterly wind that's driving in some cooler air as we head through tomorrow, and that's also going to bring some lake effect flurries tonight and tomorrow off of Lake Huron. So watch for that in some areas. I'm going to show you that as well. There's a look at the satellite and radar imagery. Didn't seem as much in the way of cloud cover as I had initially expected there. The system generally stayed to the north. I do think some of it's going to slide down though tonight. So some cloud cover in place for tonight, but again, it sort of clears out for tomorrow. There's a look at the forecast into tomorrow morning. Now, again, a few flurries coming off of the lake there from about Sarnia over to, say, London area, maybe even Chatham, Kent picking up some of this stuff. It kind of dissipates as we head through tomorrow afternoon into Friday and then the weekend. A good deal of sunshine in the forecast there as well. So, again, very nice weather in store. Temperature-wise, -4 degrees tonight, wind chills about -8. That's what we're looking at through the overnight. There's some flurries. Heading into tomorrow, yeah, it is going to be a shift from what we saw today. 2 degrees in Windsor. It does come with sunshine, though. But those temperatures, pretty close to the seasonal mark, and in the long-range forecast, we're actually looking at a warm-up. You know what? In short, sunshine, warming temperatures toward the next 5 days. Here's how it plays out. So tomorrow, 2 degrees, 3 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Lots in the way of sunshine. We start this slow climb, and then as we kick off next week, we're actually looking at double-digit temperatures for at least a couple of days.
Oh my gosh, that is glorious. That's
I know,
amazing.
So it's not over. It's
yeah,
not
it's
over.
not
It's just
over.
that we're taking
I love
a break.
seeing that, just golden, golden, golden,
Yes,
golden. Amazing.
I know. It gave
Thank
me
you
a
so
smile
much.
looking at this forecast.
Thanks so much, Nick.
You bet.
Now, when we come back, some collect coins, some collect stamps. Now, after the break, we'll tell you about a man's phone book collection and the cool things that he discovered along the way. Stay with us.
p.m.
Phone books were a staple in every household for decades. They were a way to find a person or a business, and they might even have been used as a booster seat for a little one. These days, researchers turn to those phone books to get a sense of where people lived and what businesses were in operation. But for a collector like Fred Mondro, phone books are just fun.
I just love the design of them. I love the structure of them. I look up hotels, I look up automobiles, I look up theaters, introductory pages, tourist pages. For a person that's interested in the visual, the yellow pages are always more interesting. An ostrich feather specialist. I have almost 50 on Toronto, covering from the Victorian to the current ones, all the decades of the 20th century. But I've been doing this since I was a teenager. It all started at the Sudbury Public Library when I worked there as a student and they were tossing the old ones out. I asked if I could have them. They said I could, so I took them home, and then it just kind of grew from there. Look at this one. This one is the oldest I have. It's from 1891. It has a couple of pages of ads. It's very fragile, and I ended up paying quite a bit of money for it.
How much?
It was $450 in 1997. And I also have one here that is from June of 1912. There's a name here, Arthur Peuchen. He lived at 599 Jarvis Street, and he was known to have survived the Titanic sinking. For me, I've always been interested in urban studies and cities and big cities, and the telephone directories through the decades reflected the growth and development of the city. I have had many people over the years ask me to look up the old telephone books to look for family addresses. They were interested in finding out the old numbers, like the old phone numbers. Even as a kid, when we used to get ours every year, I would look through it and to see how much it grew and how many more pages there were in it. And it's just, that's how I was, me. My parents couldn't understand it. But I guess eventually I will have to sell them. I cannot keep them forever. Nobody in my family really wants them. If somebody wants these, I just want them to have the passion for enjoying them and treating them well, like I did.
I love that. American treasure Dolly Parton has a message for those who haven't yet gotten the vaccine.
Vaccine, 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 vaccine. I'm begging of you, please don't hesitate. Vaccine, 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 vaccine. 'Cause once you're dead, then that's a bit too late.
That's a cheeky rewrite on her ballad Jolene. The 75-year-old country star got what she's saying is a dose of her own medicine yesterday. She gave $1 million to Nashville's Vanderbilt University, which went toward the development of the Moderna vaccine. And she is urging her fans to get the shot as well.
The sooner we get to feeling better, the sooner we are going to get back to being normal. So I just want to say to all of you cowards out there, don't be such a chicken squat. Get out there and get shot.
I love her sense of humor. Now, Parton says that even though she's joking around, she is dead serious about the vaccine. And she let everyone know that she didn't get any preferential treatment. She waited her turn in line just like everyone else. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor, and we're on social media as well. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Rick Mercer Report is up next. Have a great night.